I'm Sarah,
And I'm Dawn.
and we gotta be back by dark.
Yeah, we do.
Now, this is the case of the so-called co-ed killer, Edmund Emil Kemper III. Edmund Emil Kemper III was convicted in 1973 of the murders of 7 women and one 15-year-old girl between May of 1972 and April 1973.
So 8.
8 people for that conviction, yes.
Okay.
The media, of course, later coined the nicknames the co-ed killer and the co-ed butcher, as his preferred victims were female college students that he picked up hitchhiking near the area of Santa Cruz County, California. This man didn't just stop at murdering these young women. His crimes included necrophilia, decapitation, dismemberment of his victims, as well as rumors of cannibalism.
So is this your trigger warning?
I guess. I'm sorry. Trigger warnings are good when they need to be, but if it's a true crime podcast, there's your trigger warning right there.
This one's gnarly, though.
Yeah, this one's pretty bad. Kemper was found guilty at his trial in 1973. This man actually requested the death penalty as opposed to life in prison.
Okay.
Luck was not on his side in that California had suspended all capital punishment at the time of his conviction. Yeah, right, poor little baby.
Poor fella.
Yeah. This meant that he received the sentence of 8 concurrent life sentences that he has since been serving at the California Medical Facility located in Vacaville.
So not prison.
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, if somebody is convicted of necrophilia, dismemberment, and they think he might have ate them, he needs to be in a medical facility, not a prison. Kemper was born in Burbank, California on December 18, 1948. Almost at 84. Dyslexia is strong today. To one Clarnell. You can't say that without going straight cornbread. I'm sorry, even though this is California. Clarnell Elizabeth Kemper and Edmund Emil Kemper Jr. Kemper was the middle child and the only son. So he had an older sister and a younger sister.
Middle child.
Middle child syndrome. Edmund Jr., the dad, was a WW2 vet who had also tested nuclear weapons after the war at the Pacific Proving Grounds before returning to California, where he worked as an electrician.
All right.
I think that's pretty impressive, though.
Yeah.
He fought Nazis, came back, and then tested nukes.
And then he's an electrician.
Yeah, and then he's an electrician, yeah. Clarnell, however, was not happy with her husband's chosen profession, often complaining that it was menial.
Well, what did she want him to do?
Who knows? Edmund Jr. later said of her that living with her affected him. Like, it was worse than 396 days and nights fighting on the front did, as well as suicide missions in wartime and atomic bomb testings.
She was a little tough to live with, that Clarnell.
That's what I'm hearing. Now, Kemper was a big boy. He weighed in at 13 pounds as a newborn and already was a head taller than his peers by age of 4.
Pretty tall.
Yeah. Now, granted, I was next to tallest in my kindergarten class, but not by a head.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. He exhibited antisocial behavior at an early age, such as cruelty to animals. Now, I don't think that's antisocial behavior. I think that's sociopathic behavior, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Antisocial is, I don't want to hang out with y'all, I want to be by myself. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm antisocial.
Yeah, totally.
I love animals.
Exactly. I'm not going to torture an animal. Now, by age of 10, he had buried the family cat alive, dug it up, decapitated it, and mounted its head on a spike.
At 10?
At 10 years old. He went full, what's that kid's name on Game of Thrones?
Oh, I do not know.
Yes, you do. It's the one that was the oldest son of the king. The evil one everybody loved to hate. That killed Ned Stark and put his head on a spike in season 1.
Philip. I don't know.
Okay, well, y'all know what I'm talking about. The evil little king.
I'm sure somebody knows and they're screaming, but it's not me.
Anywho, he later stated that he derived pleasure in successfully lying to his family about the murder of his cat.
It's all right. I can't think about anything else.
Well, then Google it. Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, he derived pleasure in success, in getting away with it. Not in doing the deed, but in getting away with it.
So it was after.
Yes.
He's just seeing what's gonna get a rise out of
Well, he's going to see what he can get away with.
and get away with that thing.
Yeah. At the age of 13, he killed yet another family cat. This time his excuse being that it had favored his younger sister over him.
Who got him another cat?
That was another family. Remember, he got away.
Yeah.
They didn't know he killed the cat.
Yeah.
This one, however, he kept pieces of its carcass in his closet until his mother discovered them and took them away.
Mm.
Yeah, this time he can't get away with saying he didn't do it.
And she's just like, this doesn't belong here.
Yeah. In his youth, Kemper was known to have a morbid imagination and harbor dark fantasies.
You don't say.
Right. Now, having a morbid imagination is in and of itself not really something that would concern me.
No, you can write a book.
Yeah, if you didn't add in his twisted acts that he did then and then later on.
Yeah.
Kemper would perform rites with his younger sister's dolls that culminated with the heads and hands being removed. That makes me think of, like, on Criminal Minds, where they say that's a forensic countermeasure. So he's practicing in my head.
Yeah, so it sounds like.
He's practicing how to get away with things, which is very, very scary.
Mm-hmm.
On one occasion, his elder sister teased him, as sisters are prone to do, whether elder or younger, and asked him why he didn't try to kiss his teacher. His reply, now that we know what he was capable of, is eerily chilling. If I kiss her, I'd have to kill her first.
Oh, that's what you say to that?
Right. Not like
That's not
if
how
I
that
tell
saying
you...
goes.
No, if I tell you I'd have to kill you, which people bandy about like it's nothing. No, if I kiss her, I'll have to kill her first.
All right.
Yeah. Later in life, Kemper would recall being young, sneaking out of his house, armed with his father's bayonet, and go to the home of his second grade teacher just to watch her through her windows.
Ew.
That was very, very creepy.
Yeah, it's very, very creepy.
Very, very. And if you don't know what a bayonet is, it is a weapon that goes on the end of a rifle, often used in the military, especially during the World Wars. It's a type of blade that affixes to the end of the rifle, allowing the soldiers to stab at further distances and use the rifle as more than just a gun.
It's a knife on the end of a gun.
Exactly.
Jab, jab, jab.
Thrust, jab, stab. All right, if you're still confused, just watch anything that's like old war movies, old WW2 movies or shows, or sometimes like the Old West shows, and you'll see what we're talking about. Kemper told interviewers... Went straight New York. Okay.
Got spirit.
Yeah. Kemper told interviewers, when I... Shut up.
Okay. Take 3.
Kemper told interviewers, when I was in school, I was called a chronic daydreamer, and I saw a counselor twice during junior high and high school, and that was very routine. They didn't ask me a lot of questions about myself, and that was probably the most violent fantasy time I was off into.
When he was daydreaming?
Yeah, when he was daydreaming and going to seeing counselors. Kemper stated later in interviews that he often played his favorite games such as gas chamber or electric chair.
I didn't play these games.
No, we didn't play those games. He would ask his younger sister to tie him up and pretend to flip a switch, turning on the device to kill him. He would proceed to tumble over in the chair and writhe on the floor as if he was being executed by way of gas or electrocution. Now, who hasn't played out games when you're younger where somebody's like, well, pretend to kill me, that way I can do a 10-minute long, drawn-out fake death, or falling down the stairs and overacting to no end.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I'm coming. Or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, where the guy who, yes, that's Pee Wee Herman, has his long, drawn-out death after she stakes him while Rupert Hauer's playing the violin. However, we had enough sense not to take it as far as him, and didn't proceed to murder.
Monty Python.
Yes, 'tis but a scratch.
'Tis but a flesh wound.
No arms, no legs, just a head and torso. Kemper also had actual near-death experiences as a child. His older sister tried to push him in front of a train. Another time, she pushed him into the deep end of a swimming pool where he almost drowned.
Yeah, siblings be siblings.
Right. Kemper was close to his father and was notably devastated when his parents decided to separate in 1957, finally divorcing in 1961.
Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah. It's not like he said she was worse than the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Kemper was sent to live with his mother, who had moved back to her hometown of Helena, Montana at this time. The relationship between Kemper and his mother was severely dysfunctional. His mother was a neurotic, domineering alcoholic who frequently humiliated, belittled, and straight up abused him. He was often forced to sleep in a locked basement for her fear that Kemper would harm his sisters, regularly mocking him for his large size and derided him as a, quote, real weirdo to his father over the phone, supposedly unaware that Kemper was eavesdropping. Kids hear everything. It makes me wonder if she really didn't know that he was listening, or she just didn't care.
Yeah, it's not okay.
Yeah, not excusing what he did after.
His mom's actions are not enough.
Right. And not enough to excuse what he did. But she shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, makes you think, no wonder he's crazy.
Yeah, but there's people who are crazy and don't hurt anybody.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, you work with dementia people long enough and you you learn the differences. Kemper stood at 6'4" by the age of 15 years old. 6 foot 4 inches tall at 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So he was always a big boy. He kept growing, being a bigger boy. His mother was also of the opinion that if she were to show any hint of affection towards her son, that it would, quote, turn him gay.
Well, that's how that happens.
That's how that works.
I read about it, learned about that in high school.
Right. She also would tell him that he reminded her of his father and that no woman would ever love him. Somebody needs to take her out behind the woodshed.
Yeah. Is that why the man didn't like her? Because she wouldn't show him any affection? Because she was afraid she was going to turn her husband gay?
Maybe she should have. Kemper would later describe her as a sick, angry woman. You don't say. Although the thought has been floated that she may have suffered from borderline personality disorder. Again, excuses nothing, but this is also the early 60s, and their mental health was not really...
It's about the time where she might have got a lobotomy.
Yeah, right.
Maybe she needed one.
Some electroshock therapy.
Something.
This is the days before Prozac.
Yeah, maybe she just needed a break.
Yeah.
She's just too angry all the time.
Maybe she needed a little something.
Okay. Calm down.
When Kemper was 14, he ran away from his mother's home to live with his father, who he had, of course, always felt closer to. His father now lived in Van Nuys, California, with a new wife and stepson.
New family.
Kemper stayed with his father and his new family for a short time until Edmund Jr. sent him to live with his parents, who lived in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada on a ranch on Road 224 about 2 miles west of the town of North Fork. Kemper said he hated living there, describing his grandfather as senile, and his grandmother was, quote, constantly emasculating me and my grandfather. Kind of explains why his father married his mother then, if that's what he was used to from a woman.
I guess so, if that's what was even happening.
Right. This hatred led him to commit his very first human murders. This is not this co-ed, he's still a teenager. 15 years old, on August the 27th of 1964, when he was only 15 years old. Kemper took a rifle and shot his grandmother after an argument, shooting her once in the head and twice in the back. He then proceeded to stab her several times.
Dang.
I guess to make sure she was dead. I don't know.
Okay.
When his grandfather came home, Kemper fatally shot him while he was still in the driveway. Once he committed these acts, he called his mother, who told him to call the police. He did, and then just calmly waited for them to show up. When they got there, Kemper told the police that he, quote, just wanted to see what it felt like to kill Grandma, and later said that he had killed his grandfather because he knew he would be angry with Kemper for shooting his grandmother.
Oh, yes.
Yes, he would be angry. He would be heartbroken, angry, scared. He was interviewed during adulthood by psychiatrist Donald Lund, who wrote, in his way, he had avenged the rejection of both his father and mother. Kemper's crimes were understandably deemed incomprehensible for a 15-year-old to have committed, and court psychiatrists diagnosed Kemper with paranoid schizophrenia.
Like, we don't know.
Yeah. He was sent to He was sent into a maximum security facility in San Luis Obispo County, Atascadero State Hospital, which houses the mentally ill convicts. California Youth Authority social workers and psychiatrists at Atascadero disagreed with the diagnosis handed down by the court psychiatrists. Their report stated that Kemper showed no flights of ideas, no interference with thought, no expression of delusions or hallucinations, and no evidence of bizarre thinking.
What are the qualifications to have her job?
Right? And it really makes me wonder what they consider bizarre if that's not bizarre.
Right?
Dr. Alfred Lucci, the medical director at the hospital at the time.
He fired them?
Well, I would hope so. He told the Los Angeles Times, most of this work is a matter of an educated guess. That there are no certainties in psychiatry when it comes to predicting murder and violence by people who are criminally insane. Of course, modern experts studying Kemper's horrifying acts have different viewpoints.
Of course.
They also believed him to be intelligent and introspective. Initial testing put his IQ at 136, over 2 standard deviations above average. Kemper was then re-diagnosed with the less severe personality trait disturbance, passive-aggressive type. Later at his stay at Atascadero, he was given a second IQ test, this time scoring higher at 145.
What part is passive?
I don't know, man, because passive means you don't actually do anything physically.
Right.
Passive-aggressive is like, bless your heart.
Yeah. We know passive aggressive.
Yeah, we do. But yeah, he was IQ of 145.
That's nothing.
Right. But sadly, history has shown us that many serial killers and criminals have above average IQs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's very sad, because who doesn't love a dumb criminal? This case shows many of the ways just how far the mental health field has come in just the last 50 years. Due to early obsession with sex and death being nowhere on the map for mental health professionals at the time. A professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, Louis B. Schlesinger, believed that instead of being sent to an institution, Kemper should have been sent to prison at the time. Schlesinger said that Kemper was drawn to compulsive murder because of the sexual gratification that he received from it. Quote, that's an extremely dangerous and deviant and rare disorder.
I agree.
Yeah. It was common in the 1960s to just lump together all those who were criminally insane and label them with the diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. Schlesinger stated that he wasn't a paranoid schizophrenic. He wasn't delusional. He didn't have hallucinations.
No, he had fantasies.
Yeah, and this is I think this is one of the clear indications of why schizophrenia is so misunderstood. Because for so long, everything was just clumped together under that banner.
Just because they didn't even understand it. And that's what he's saying. He's like, don't worry, guys. I got this. I'll explain everything. We don't know.
Yeah. Kemper was, of course, a model prisoner and was trained to administer psychiatric tests to other inmates. The inmates are running the asylum. Later, a psychiatrist said, quote, he was a very good worker, and this is not typical of a sociopath. He really took pride in his work. Yeah, because no sociopaths learn to mimic behavior in order to get away with anything.
Or take pride in their work by taking trophies. Or writing letters to the press, making their own tag name.
Dear Hoss. Or just watch Dexter. I mean, people. Kemper also became a member of the JCs while in Atascadero and claimed to have developed, quote, some new tests and some new scales on the Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory, specifically an overt hostility scale during this time.
So just learning more of how to be normal.
Yes. After this second arrest, Kemper said that learning to understand how these tests function allowed him to manipulate the system and the psychiatrist whom he was assigned, admitting that he learned a great deal from the sex offenders that he had previously been assigned to administer tests to himself.
So they just gave him like free training.
Yeah.
On getting away with murder.
Getting away with murder. Eventually, many believed that he had been there long enough. He's been here long enough. We'll just let him go. Kemper was released on parole from Atascadero on December 18, 1969, on his 21st birthday. He was released into the care of his mother, good old Clarnell again.
Clarnell.
He was released into the care of his mother against the recommendations of many of the psychiatrists who had worked with him at the hospital. Kemper's time at the asylum assisted him in the way that he learned from other inmates and patients in order to become a more effective killer. So it's pretty much, you're a teenager, we're going to lock you up and you can't go to school, but you're learning a whole lot while you're in there.
Yeah, those are formative times.
Yeah, they are. Instead of hanging out in the parking lot at the local fast food or at the mall at night in the summer, you're going to hang out with these inmates and learn how to do what you've been doing, but better.
Manipulation.
Yep.
And then they say, don't go back to Clarnell.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, stay away from Clarnell.
And then here, we're going to let you go, but you have to go live with Clarnell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Making sure I understand.
Yes. Yes. Many things do not make sense.
Okay.
By this time, Kemper's mother had remarried, taken on the surname Strandberg, and then divorced. Yeah.
Right.
She had also moved back to California and resided in Aptos, California, which was a short drive from her job where she worked as an administrative assistant at the University of California, Santa Cruz.
Getting to the co-ed.
Kemper later led psychiatrists to believe that he was rehabilitated, and on November 29, 1972, Kemper's juvenile records were permanently expunged.
But you killed your grandparent.
Yes, and he had already also started killing co-eds.
Oh, but he's good.
Yeah,
Good to go.
nobody had guessed that it was him, but he had started killing in May.
All right.
The last report from his probation psychiatrist read, "If I were to see this patient without having any history available or getting any history from him, I would think that we're dealing with a very well-adjusted young man who had initiative, intelligence, and who was free of any psychiatric illnesses.
But it's not.
It is my opinion that he has made a very excellent response to the years of treatment and rehabilitation, and I would see no psychiatric reason to consider him to be of any danger to himself or to any member of society, and since it may allow him more freedom as an adult to develop his potential, I would consider it reasonable to have a permanent expunction of his juvenile records."
I bet he feels real dumb.
One would hope. There are so many people who will not take responsibility for any of their actions. While staying with his mother, Kemper attended a local community college in accordance with his parole requirements with hopes of becoming a police officer.
Just to study more.
Well, I don't know, man. I guess he thought he still had a chance even though he'd already killed 2 people.
Expunged. Never happened.
Not yet. Hadn't been expunged yet.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, this is before it was expunged. But get this, the reason they rejected him? His size. He was too big.
I didn't know there was a size limit.
I didn't either. But at the time he was released from Atascadero, Kemper stood at an imposing 6 foot 9 inches tall, weighing in at around a hefty 300 pounds, leading to the nickname Big Ed.
Big boy.
Yeah, he's a big one. Despite being rejected from joining the police force, he maintained friendly relations with the police officers in Santa Cruz.
So he's just going to hang out with them.
Yeah, he became a self-described friendly nuisance at a local cop bar called the Jury Room. Another deep dive trying to figure out names on things.
Get the skinny.
Yeah. Kemper found gainful employment at a series of jobs before graduated to being employed by the California Division of Highways. At this same time, Kemper's relationship with his mother remained highly toxic and hostile, often erupting into heated arguments that were overheard frequently by neighbors.
We knew Clarnell was like this.
Later, he described the arguments that were had at this time. Quote, "My mother and I started right in on horrendous battles, just horrible battles, violent and vicious. I've never been in such a vicious verbal battle with anyone. It would go to fists with a man, but this was my mother, and I couldn't stand the thought of my mother and I doing these things. She insisted on it, and just over stupid things. I remember one roof raiser was over whether I should have my teeth cleaned."
Mother knows best.
Right. Yeah, let's have a knockdown drag out on whether you should go to the dentist and have your teeth cleaned. As soon as Kemper saved enough money, he moved out to live with a friend located in Alameda. There, he complained that he was still unable to be free of his mother, stating that she would frequently call or visit unannounced, pop over without telling him ahead of time.
You think maybe she knew he was probably up to no good?
Well, she thought that from birth.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know, man. She has her own problems, so be either way. Now, he often had money troubles, resulting in him having to return to living with his mother in her Aptos apartment. By this time, Kemper was in his early 20s. Now, the same year that Kemper began work for the Highway Division, he was struck by a car while out riding his motorcycle that he had recently purchased. This led to his arm becoming badly injured due to the crash, and Kemper received $15,000 in a settlement as part of the civil suit against the driver of the car. That's the equivalent of $102,954 in 2023.
Whoa.
That's a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
With part of a settlement, he went out and he purchased himself a 1969 Ford Galaxie 500 with a black hardtop as well as a black interior.
Okay.
Now, this car would become much more than just a nice ride for Kemper.
Oh, no.
As he drove around the area in his new car, he started to notice a large number of young women hitchhiking as a means of getting from one place to another. Now, in the early 1970s, hitchhiking was a very, very common sight, especially in California, and especially in Southern California. People believed that it was safe, a cheap way of getting to their destination if they didn't have their own car or couldn't afford the gas. Once Kemper took notice of this, he began storing supplies. Plastic bags, knives, blankets, and handcuffs.
That is not what I have in my supplies.
No. Now, handcuffs, to each their own, but he ain't getting them for that reason. He started out picking up young female hitchhikers, giving them a ride, then just peacefully letting them exit the vehicle at their destination. According to Kemper, he continued to do so, picking up approximately 150 hitchhikers who matched line with his pattern. He stated that this was before he began having his, quote, little zapples.
Little zapples.
Little zapples.
Sounds gross. I don't know what it is yet, but it sounds very gross.
Well, that's what he named his feelings of homicidal sexual urges that he later became acting upon.
Those are feelings. Gross feelings.
Yes, very, very gross feelings. Disgusting.
Okay.
Now, Kemper would use these rides as a test of himself, seeing how far he would go. Almost a tease for his urges. Like, I'm going to pick this girl up, and I might have my gun beside me, hidden in the car, and think about what I could do to her while she's in my vehicle.
He's just been working up the nerve.
Yes. Of course, at times, he had a tendency to blame the women that he murdered while they hitchhiked, stating that they were, quote, flaunting in my face the fact that they could do any damn thing they wanted, and that society is as screwed up as it is.
They could do whatever they wanted. They wouldn't be asking for rides.
Between the murders, Kemper would also continue to give rides to female college students. Just giving them a ride, discussing the murders and what kind of person could possibly be doing these things, and then just letting them get out once they got to the end of the ride.
Probably studying and see how he should react.
I think he was basking in the fact that everybody was talking about him, that he was getting away with it, like he did with Cat.
There's that.
Now, between May of 1972 and April of 1973, Edmund Emil Kemper III killed 8 people. His victim of choice was female college students who were hitchhiking and to take them to isolated areas. Once he had them all to himself, he would proceed to shoot, stab, smother, or strangle the women. Once he had accomplished this, he wasn't done. He would take their bodies back to his home, where he would then decapitate them, perform oral rape on their severed heads, have sexual intercourse with their corpses, and then finally, as if that's not enough, he would then dismember them. He couldn't just murder them. He had to proceed to desecrate their bodies once they were gone.
That's messed up.
Yes, every bit of that is messed up. During his 11-month-long killing spree, Kemper succeeded in killing 5 college students, 1 high school student, his mother, as well as his mother's best friend. Kemper often blamed fights with his mother as the trigger for him to go out on the hunt for his next victim, stating that she would repeatedly refuse to introduce him to women attending the university where she was employed. He recalled her saying, "You're just like your father. You don't deserve to get to know them." For once, Clarnell was right.
Yeah.
Psychiatrists have widely held the belief that the young women that Kemper targeted were surrogates for his mother, Kemper's ultimate target. Kemper, of course, himself agreed with this belief. He turned his car into a moving murder scene. 5 of the ways in which he modified his vehicle were that he fitted his car with a radio antenna, resembling one used often in unmarked police cars at the time, including a radio transmitter, microphone, and one of those large whip-like antennas on the roof of his car. He would also use this to listen in on police chatter, helping him to stay up to date with what the cops were doing and if there were any speed traps or the like. Another was that he would jam the passenger door in order to trap his victims once they got into the car. Once they got in, he would act as if the door wouldn't shut properly, so he would then reach over and slip something such as like a chapstick tube onto the locking mechanism, making it impossible for the door to be opened on the inside.
He modified his vehicle just to aid him in killing girls.
Yes. Not only was this the days before child locks, but this was also the front seat. So he made his own child lock, so you could open the door from the inside.
Well, he's smart.
Yes. Kemper would also keep his .22 automatic pistol under his seat while driving. due to his previous incarceration. He was not allowed to own a firearm, and police had already paid him a visit to confiscate his .44 Magnum a few weeks prior, which he had stored in the trunk of his car. Yeah. Kemper feared that he would be caught at the time. He wasn't.
Should have been.
Yes, definitely should have been, but did not happen. There are many times in this where he almost got caught.
I'm sure he loved every single one.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that added to the thrill. Kemper was also able to obtain a sticker for permit parking at the university, getting an extra one from his mother, where she had worked there. He had an A sticker, allowing him access to victims in that they believed that they could trust somebody associated with the school. This same system was used across other UC campuses, including UC Berkeley, proving very convenient for Kemper.
Oh no.
Because once these murders started and people started trying to take precautions, one of the things was, well, if you're going to get a ride from somebody, get a ride from somebody associated with the school, because then it's safe.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't. Kemper also made frequent use of the trunk of the vehicle. He would hide the bodies of his victims after killing them, often decapitating them in the trunk before traveling further to more victimize the bodies of these young women.
So he cut the head off while it was in the trunk.
Sometimes, yeah, he didn't wait till he got to where he was going. He would cut off the heads in the trunk and then proceed to drive down the road.
Okay.
Kemper's victims were Mary Ann Pesci, 18, Anita Luchessa, 18. They were only 18 years old, first two. Aiko Koo, she was only 15 years old. Cindy Shaw was 18. Rosalind Thorpe was 23. Allison Liu was 20. And then last two, Clarnell Kemper Strandberg was 52, his mother. And her best friend Sarah Taylor Sally Hallett was 59.
So all the students were all pretty young.
Yeah. They were all college students, with the exception of the 15-year-old child. This does not include the killings of his paternal grandparents back when he was still a teenager. This is after psychiatrists and the courts decided that he was no longer a threat to society.
Nothing happened to them? Do we know?
Nothing has been noted. They just chalked it up to learning. Well, remember they said that it's a guess. It's an educated guess. We can't know for certain what's going to happen. It's only psychiatry.
Well, I keep seeing that gif of Bart Simpson disappearing into the brush. I feel like that's how they'll feel. Like they just want to disappear.
That's Homer.
What'd I say?
Bart.
Oh.
No, it's Homer Simpson, yes. But yeah, this just disappearing quietly, backing out.
Mm-hmm.
They just, oh, well, we didn't know. We didn't know better.
You did know, because he was there. He was teaching your class.
But it's not their fault. They didn't know any better. They thought that they had taken all the steps that they had. In Game of Thrones, it was Joffrey.
Okay.
The one everybody loved to hate. That killed Ned Stark and put his head on a pike.
You already said that part.
I know, but I couldn't remember his name. I had to look it up. Well, that is all of the background that we have that I was able to find on Kemper. And part 2, we can discuss the women and child.
And how he got caught.
And where he is now, because he ain't dead yet.
But we have to wait.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all we have for today.
Thanks for listening.
And we shall see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.